Hello, YouTube and Twitch and all you people out there. This is Juggling Lessons. I'm here with Reid Nicewander, who's writing topics. I'm also here with Mark Solomon, the
Hey everybody.
producer, author, the performer, the what do we call it, of the Being Reasonable podcast. He's not actually
Glad to
here
be
though,
here.
because you can see, yeah, he's sort of just here, you know, in air quotes. He's here. You know,
I
in
tell you, this
some
is
ways,
really
it's not
exciting because
valid.
I think I've seen every episode of Cordial Curiosity, and to be on it is exciting.
Excellent.
No
Excellent.
problem. This is the Twitch version of it, so it's about the same. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Not nearly as polished. This is
good.
much more throwing all the spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
You get to see how the sausage is made, and other idioms.
Yes.
Sure.
I hear Quinn saying, "I'm sorry, I thought I was muted." Oh, we don't mind. We don't have an interlocutor yet. Foot traffic is what it is. Hello, Mark. Good to see you.
Well, it's great to be here. It's I love listening to both of you perform SE, and it's a really it's my pleasure absolutely to be able to talk to you.
Thank you, Mark.
No problem.
So tell me about your Being Reasonable podcast. What's been happening lately?
Well, we're still going forward with it. The reason I like to do this, it's a podcast, but it's also a radio show. And I like to do it as a radio show because I want people to come across it by accident and not
Okay.
necessarily be looking for it. And that's I want people to stumble across it. So that's why I do it that way.
Oh, it's also a radio show. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Where does it go out to?
Right. So it's local for stations here like Asheville, Chapel Hill, Durham, Raleigh, and for North Carolina, where's my home base. And of course, you can also hear as a podcast as well. I think that my last episode, I had somebody who practiced hypnotism, and I thought that was interesting. It was the first time I ever talked to someone about that, and I don't really know too much about it, so it was a bit of a learning experience for me. I don't know if either of you two ever talked with a hypnotherapist or someone who believed in
Yes.
hypnotism. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've had family and as close go into that as a getting 2 years of training in it and that kind of thing. So I'm familiar with it, and mostly I'm not all that friendly to it.
Let's see how this one.
Oh, you're not too friendly to it.
I'm not too friendly to hypnotism the way I was exposed to it from family members who got into it. I thought it was not very effective, or seemed to rely a lot on unfalsifiability. Now, I've also experienced some hypnotism and in my life, which I actually thought was great. So I'm not shut off to hypnotism in general. I've just been I've had a low opinion of some of the hypnotism training that I've seen.
Yeah, I hear you're coming from, and I think where I got stuck a bit was the reliability of a hypnotic state, in the sense of how is that measured, and is it? And it seems like it's not. That it's not different from other states of consciousness, at least that can be measured. And so I had difficulty getting past that.
Okay.
Just of what it is. It seemed like it could be anything.
Uh-huh.
It was difficult to differentiate
Cool,
from
cool.
other things and other states of wakefulness, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
that I think that
it
that
seems
was
like
where
there
I
would be
had.
some predictions like this kind of suggestion can lead to this much of a measurable result on the other side. And if you can't show that, what have you got?
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because, um, especially like in the fields of psychology and other fields, I guess I think hypnotism is pretty common, and I I really didn't know too much about it, and I just thought that there would be a little bit more evidence that supported it,
Hmm.
and I, I just it was a bit of a learning experience, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of psychology that's finding itself in a similar boat, where
Yeah.
it seems to work, but it, if really forced to prove it, would have a hard time showing that, at least to the level the court would be happy or a
Well, it's really
scientist.
interesting because psychology is having kind of a crisis right now of
Yeah, replicability,
studies
is
being
that the
able
one?
to uh-huh, that so
Yeah.
many of the like the keystone studies that set forth theories and many things, they're hard to reproduce,
Uh huh.
and it's kind of the field of psychology is sort of coming having a coming to Jesus moment. um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was a good analogy or not.
Sure, it's fine. We're insensitive to it.
Yeah. So I've been trying to talk to more psychologists now because of that. I think I talked with
Uh huh.
it hasn't aired yet, but someone who practices psychodynamic psychotherapy, which is, the ego and the id and the superego. And
Uh huh.
I didn't think people really practice that too much anymore, but there are practitioners of that. And that was a kind of interesting conversation.
Uh huh.
And with the field of psychology, it's interesting how there's the science aspect, but there's also mm, kind of an art aspect and part of it that's just heuristics and not really backed up by science.
Okay, so it's true by definition, but that might not predict something in the real world. Is that what you mean by it's based in heuristics? Or
It just
maybe
we
I'm not sure.
psychologists do things certain ways, and
Yeah.
and there's research to support some of it, but there's a lot of there's a lot of uh I'm trying to think, just poetic license practicing out there, I would say, of what
Right.
works and what
Right.
doesn't work and what theoretical models you're working out of.
Cool. Cool. Bring Reid in. We were just talking about psychology having a bit of a come to Jesus moment over the replicability crisis,
Yeah, it's an
and
issue.
maybe a slight idiosyncratic practice that different practitioners have their own theories they're operating from, and therefore there's a variability between what's normal practice.
Yeah, I remember Eric saying something about that on his
Hmm.
interview or at some point. There's like various theories
Yeah,
and
it's really interesting.
yeah,
Psychology is the field is really in a crisis right now of
Hmm.
things that we thought were true, big T,
Hmm.
turned out quite possibly not to be. And
Mm.
so and psychology, at least when I was in grad school, psychologists want to be treated like it's the field is a hard science, and when in fact
Yeah.
it's being kind of a loose social science. It's hard to nail some of these things down.
Hmm. Hmm.
but
Well, is big data a solution?
How
Is it
so?
possible for us? Is this something measurable? Is it examinable? Is it the problem that we just can't hold it still enough to see it, or what's the issue? Do you think? What's the reason
Um,
why it's difficult to come up with clear truths about this stuff?
that's a great question. I mean, I think the nature of being human, that there's a subjective element to that. that makes it difficult. I'm not sure. What do you think?
Okay. Um, I think it's very difficult to study a thing that knows it's being studied, because so much of the time, if somebody wants to be cooperative, they want to give you the result they think you're looking for. Um, it go, I have this filed under lights in the factory example, where they said, you know, we'd like to measure productivity and figure out what the optimum lighting in the factory is. So we're going to be fiddling with the lighting, and please try to ignore it and just move on. Boom, boom. And every time they fiddled with the lighting, up or down or whichever, it didn't matter. It would increase productivity. That the
That's a great
very act
analogy.
that people knew their productivity was being measured drastically influenced their productivity, at least in the short term. So it really, really blinded the people studying what would be the optimum lighting. So that's, at least that's how I have it filed. I'm sure there's really good names for that. But I
Yeah.
think that's where the blinding comes in. And for ethical reasons, we don't allow people to be tested without at least knowing that they're being part of something tested. They might not know what, but they're aware of it.
Yes. And that's after many problems in the early field of psychology, where people would be shocked, like electrically shocked and things like that. And we decided
Yes.
that's probably not
Yeah.
a good thing to do without permission. And right.
Seems like Milgram is the word that comes up for that one, but I'm not sure if that's correct at all.
Yeah, that's
Milgram,
actually,
yeah.
I was going to say that,
Yeah.
but you are obviously aware.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's specifically concerned about such things professionally. So I've been taught a little about it, but only as much as to know the names of the things, not to be able to do anything with them. I'm sure I know a lot more about quantum theory than that. I can't do quantum theory.
We are
No, it's
complex.
interesting. I don't know if you guys have had this experience,
entity.
but I don't know how often. It seems more recently when I practice SE, quantum mechanics is usually, it's often thrown in by my interlocutor. It just like to show you anything that wants to be shown.
Yep.
That's how it's used.
Yes.
It's
It-
To show you that truth can be.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's like the most popular, like the most fad God of the Gaps area
Yes.
in contemporary society, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. If you put quantum in front of something, you're allowed to change all the logic that applies to it.
Right. It's to show you
Which
that
is
there's
only
no such
slightly
thing as big T truth, or yes. Yeah.
Right. Yes. If you need to get rid of gradient thinking and go binary, you can use quantum to get you there. If you need to go into gradient thinking instead of binary, you can use quantum to get you there. Yeah, no problem.
What's your
You
typical
can do it either way.
response what's your typical, because I've handled it different ways when someone brings up a quantum mechanics example. Is there a way that you address that typically, or does it depend on the claim at hand?
I work toward what they're trying to get to, and I'm not an expert in quantum to know whether or not their quantum would apply in the case that they're calling it for. Sometimes I do know that, for example, it does not apply. Like if they say there has to be a conscious observer to collapse a waveform, no, an observer is any particle that carries information away from the system. There's some things for which people can say things and they just get the definitions wrong. But generally speaking, in SE, I'm really trying to just understand them, so I don't have to get it right. I just have to get what they mean.
Yeah.
If they're saying quantum means that we're all connected in the energy field, I go, okay, yeah, I can understand what you mean. And depending on what you mean by field and energy and all those things, that depends on whether you're talking about what physicists talk about or not. But that's fine. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, I usually hear it described in the sense that we can all have our own realities because we can have two particles
Yeah.
they can exist, or right.
Yeah, that just takes us right down the Tic Tac route. Boom.
Yeah.
Because yes, I agree that there's that like the standard logic of A not A excluded middle, all that sort of thing falls apart at quantum. But I didn't need that logic anyway.
Yeah.
Coming for us.
They're almost hovering.
Yeah, basically a helicopter's hovering right above us.
Now, we are even closer to the LAPD heliport location.
Oh, shit.
We are basically, we cut the distance. Echo Park is that way, the heliport is that way.
Okay, well, I assume they're not there for you.
I would assume they're not.
Yeah, it's fine.
Those
Probably
SE
doing
agitators
some
out in the
B-roll.
park.
Yeah, who knows? But it's sonically interesting. I actually don't know how loud that is for you. Anyway, so your latest shows. What? Tell us about a few of your recent podcasts on being reasonable.
Yeah. So I think when I talked to you before, I might have mentioned that people who come on my show is kind of a self-selection, in the sense
Yeah.
that I probably need to ask about 20, 25 people. I have to reach out to that many people to get a guest. And they don't
Free
know me
water?
from Adam, and I get it, but it's and so the people who come on.
We're also doing free speech,
Yeah.
interviewing you if you like.
Want to give it a shot? You're good.
I don't think we have an interlocutor. He's interested
yet.
but not moving toward.
There.
Continue, please, Mark.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that changes the dynamic from what you're doing, because you have people actively approaching you, and
Yeah, it's a
And,
different dynamic. In this case, I think in your case, they know right up front that they are going on a radio show. And so all of their stage fright happens before they make any agreement or buy in to move forward. Here, we have this nice little agreement that they agree to receive a bottle of water from us. and so they feel slightly obligated to hear us out, right?
I give out
that's
chicken
very
eggs,
important.
but go ahead.
Yeah, that works. Chicken eggs are good. They've wandered off, so we don't have an interlocutor at the moment. But then the way Reid has a board with 6 little suggestions gets people thinking. If they're strongly opinionated and need to say it, well, they're ready to go. And then as they're approaching here, we say, by the way, we're live stream recorded, that kind of thing. And some people go, oh, okay, never mind. And others are like, oh, that's fine. To where? To, well, YouTube and Twitch. And they think that's necessarily small time. Now, in our case, it certainly is. But it
Yeah, and
doesn't
I think
have to.
and recently, for people who come on my show, they'll readily admit that they've seen like 8, or they've listened to 8 of my shows, or like the whole catalog of shows, and so
I'm not sure.
they know in that sense precisely what they're stepping into, and so that kind of changes
Yeah.
the dynamic that way. It's good that I have people thinking about it, but I think it kind of can make it kind of strange, because people
Yeah.
will come up with some really unusual arguments to try to parse apart. They can have their truth and eat it too, kind of thing.
Check.
I hear you well.
What happened?
I don't know. It seems to be coming in and out, depending on how you...
How about now? Testing.
Okay, sounds good.
Still good?
Yeah. Do you hear you? Do you hear him?
Can you hear me? I don't have any headset on.
Oh, okay. Yes, we hear you.
I can probably find a headset somewhere.
Yes.
Should be working.
FKS for the weather report?
It's 68, sunny. Out here at Los Angeles State Historic Park.
For people with standard good Celsius degrees, that's 20.
20.
Yes.
You did it off the top of your head.
Yes. Civilized units, 20. Okay,
I'm willing to trade metric for Fahrenheit. Like, everyone go Fahrenheit and metric.
Really? You prefer Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems better for temperature.
Interesting.
It's like 100 is dead, 0 is really close to, like, that's freezing, right?
Yeah, Fahrenheit was originally designed that 100 should hit body temperature.
100 should hit body temperature?
Yeah, 100 was body temperature and 0 was salted ice.
Okay.
That was how Fahrenheit.
I only speak in Kelvin, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I hear you. So to be very specific, it is 293.15 right now, but that is far too precise. It's not nearly that close. 290 something Kelvin. Yeah, the primary goal is to get real life guests. This is a new location. We are trying to find locations that have enough traffic and the kind of traffic for people who are interested in stopping by and speaking with us. And we can only figure that out by actually trying it.
Yeah, there doesn't seem like that many people around.
Yeah, we're still at like half of Echo Park, but at Echo Park, I think because there are a number of other attractions and distractions, people are more tuned to maybe a willingness to stop and engage. Right now, we've had very, very little stop and engage. Most people are running with their blinders on.
You should ask some Jehovah's Witness for some advice on what locations work best.
Yeah.
Have you ever had people actively find out where you are and seek you out? Like when they know you're reporting?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, and we do that through the meetup group. So if they join the meetup group, they will have the details and the directions all automated and well ahead of time. And I think right now there's about 70 or 80 people in the meetup group.
Not sure.
How does that work?
Let me check.
How does the meetup group work?
It's an app, and people have, we said LA area SE in the park kind of meetup group. What's the name of it? LA
Street Epistemology, Los Angeles. Stroke causing delay.
Yes. He's using a Bluetooth mic and Bluetooth headset, and oh man, is it tough for him. Anyway. Right, no strings attached. Very much, yeah. Anyway, so we have had that. That's how I originally got to hook up with Reid. Maybe hook up's a bad term.
These are people who want to practice SE or people who want to be SE'd?
People who want to practice, typically.
Okay.
If you want to be SE'd, it's so easy to do so on the Street Epistemology Discord. Just go out there and say, hey, I have this claim. Would somebody examine it, please? And then work out priorities. I'd like to first come, first serve. No, I want experience. Okay, three people show up and they work it out amongst themselves or something. So it's really easy to do that. Anyway, the Street Epistemology Los Angeles meetup is encouraged, and we've had starts with a B. Wife owns a pizza place. Barrett, thank you. We've had Barrett come out, and we've actually I think in this last year we've had 5 other epistemologists come out and visit with us at some point. Quinn being among them. And I'm not counting Anthony. When Anthony showed up, that was just special, wonderfuls. Everything worked out.
Well, I saw the episode where Peter showed up. I thought that was
yes.
fascinating. How did that come about?
That was good.
Did you just reach out to him?
Because you know Peter.
Yeah, I went to an event in Aspen, Colorado, where he was speaking with Jim and Helen. And afterwards, his book was about to come out, or had just come out, and he wanted to market it. So I offered for him to come, and I would record him doing conversations.
Okay, and this is the Orange Book, yes?
The Orange Book, yeah.
Okay.
How to have him positive conversations. And he flew down, and we spent 2 days, shot a bunch of interviews. I wonder if we could... I have a bunch that was never released. We could probably do more SE video review streams with those unaired conversations.
Oh,
maybe.
that'd be rocking.
I could do a highlight of the best that never made it.
Yeah, that would be extra. I'd love that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Watching. I think this happened on the New Discourses channel. Like the first 6 videos were produced by you with your equipment and with Peter. And I think those. I'm not actually sure where those happened. It seems like those were Runyon.
Those were at USC and Runyon.
USC and Runyon. Okay.
I don't think any of the USCs made it online.
Okay. In that particular case, I kind of found myself set back and thinking, wow, Peter, who's really got the theory down, really doesn't have the practice of this thing. He's failing to shoot his messengers really bad. What's up with that? But I think as a teacher, he's got a very different mindset, much more of a willingness to intervene, and probably a lot more rapport build up and things like that. So he's tuned differently.
Sure.
Fun. FK asked, is the external speaker on? Kimberly, do you hear the external speaker? No, we're not hearing the external speaker. Apparently we have stolen both the Bluetooths from it. In the moment, that's true.
Did I steal Kimberly's headphones?
No, she has 2. Right now she's using her single ear headphone, which works pretty well.
Okay.
And what may have happened is that we stole the Bluetooth transmitter from one device to another.
Maybe.
There are children running down the hill, which is all great, except that there's also cactus on that hill. If they make an error, it's going to be very unpleasant. Yes, that is one of the things it's called. Definitely.
Figured out what's snow sledding on a hill with cactus on it, dude.
Oh. Kimberly just said a bad thing. Snow sledding on a hill with cactus. Oh.
You don't know about it till after you scrape through.
Wow.
It says I'm pairing now on my headphones.
Uh-huh.
Connected.
Okay, you're not on site right now. You're somewhere else, right?
No, he's. If you look in the ultra wide, I'm going to switch over to it. You'll see that Reid is standing at the standing location where the wide shot is, and also we can sit there and have a conversation while the table is still open, and therefore we found that if we're both sitting up at the table, people assume that we're in the middle of an interview, and they don't engage.
Yeah.
So we got to have an open spot at the table, or they don't know that there's room for them.
Right.
You've got speaker.
I have speaker. Okay.
So now we just wait.
Yeah, we just wait. So thank you, Mark, for coming by. I will be listening for your further podcast, as I have
Yeah, I
time to put
appreciate it.
podcasts directly in my ear. Oh, there was one further question. If we are so cherry picking that we say, wow, there's a Being Reasonable podcast that we would love to put on the SE podcast,
Yeah, of course.
are you generally amenable to that? Okay.
Absolutely.
Good.
I don't make a
Cool,
cent
cool.
off this. Doesn't matter to me.
Right. That's the same way we're handling it.
Right.
Yeah. Mostly we're trying to avoid people having a profit motive, but and I say we. I'm not at SEI, but my understanding is that SEI's intention is not to ever encourage a profit motive, but definitely to help make this hobby less painful financially for people. If they want to do it,
Right.
you can do it. Yes, so we're 30 minutes in.
One thing I've noticed
I
about
think it's part-
Reid's equipment is that it's really it's improved since I seen you in the early days. You have a lot more going
Uh-huh.
on.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a. There's so much it's almost tacky.
It's gotten better.
I'm just poking at the word tacky because it's one of those things we need to define what that means. But yeah, it is elaborate.
Yeah.
I think if I were to train, if I had to say, hey, go get that thing, and I'll talk to you on the phone on how to do the setup. I think 3.5 hours later we'd be still on the phone going, okay, now, please take me a picture so I can look at it all and figure out what's not there.
But what do you guys edit your videos in? What program do you use?
Final Cut.
Yep. I use Lightworks and haven't touched it in. No, I did touch it for one thing, but I've only done one editing task in the last 3 months. So, managed to avoid that job. Oh yeah, tacky is definitely subjective. Yep. I mean, the work all goes in. It just has to go in before the show rather than after. Or maybe during.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the way you guys do your shows, what's the most labor-intensive part of it?
Getting here and setting up.
Yeah.
Not getting kicked out.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
that is the toughest part, is actually connecting interlocutors. And it's a bit too early for me to say, but this park is not thrilling me yet. It looks
this
really
is
nice.
It's a test run.
It's a test run.
This is the day.
And when you do the regular...
That's true. This is the day
show-
after Thanksgiving. Maybe. Go ahead, Mark.
You're not gonna
Oh,
have
no,
normal
no.
traffic.
It's going to be worse.
Oh, someone's coming.
You
Oh,
don't know?
listen.
Maybe people want to walk off their big meal.
They could all be shopping.
Oh, it's Black,
it's Black Friday. Oh,
That's true.
I want to avoid
the nationwide super spreader event. Holy crap, Black Friday. Oh.
And like Dali, how many shows do you do? How many people would you say you interview, and to get one that you think is airable?
I air all of
You
them.
need all of them.
I air
Oh.
all of them because I do it live.
For me,
Yeah.
5 to 10.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah,
And when
for
and when
an
you when
SE
you
show,
can't
quite idiosyncratic. Go
and
ahead.
when you don't air a show or a segment, what's the primary reason? Would you say is the reason you don't like that segment?
Read first.
So it just drags on. You mean like that?
That
what
isn't
you're
no.
saying?
That actually happened at El Prado. 2 of the conversations were not able to be aired because of a local power failure in North Macedonia.
Oh, no electricity for real.
So we had 12 interlocutors, and we only released 10 video. But go ahead, Reid. The primary reason why that the 80 or 90% don't make it to air.
I guess entertainment value
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
/ educational value for SE. If it's just
Right.
acclaim we've heard, reasons we've heard over and over.
Have you ever had
It's
someone?
nothing too interesting.
Have you ever had someone? I've had it once. Happened once. For the lack of a better term, lose their shit.
Not really.
Hmm.
Some people have gotten a little heated,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
never flipped a table or gotten up and just stopped.
Yeah.
Because
I try to desperately do everything I can for that
Spidey.
non-play. So
Yeah,
when that
yeah.
does
For
happen,
rapport to go
actually
negative is
quite surprising.
The rapport is my first score, no question.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look back at, I think, Runyon Canyon 2 or something, 3 or something, there's one with Pete and Spidey, where Spider-Man came by and along with Pete, and there was an obvious rapport fail, and
Yeah.
they didn't, the interlocutors didn't like huff off. They just about 3 times in a row sort of suddenly disconnected and became very distracted. And if it was one distraction, you could say, "Huh," but 3 distractions in a row, and they're each there. And to some small degree, I think I may have failed to shoot the messenger a little bit because he was talking about sexual purity, and I introduced the question of poly into the mix, and I think that just wigged him out. And it might have been a little messengery wrong, might have been a little too direct. But in any case, that's where it failed. That's where it crashed and burned.
Yeah, and I do everything I can for that not to happen. So, I mean, and it happens. I mean, you just sometimes you'll get a person who's,
Yeah.
they're not quite as stable as you'd hope, and you don't realize that going in. So, yeah.
I figure if it happens, slow walkers behind. If it never happens, if it happens less than 1% of the time, I think I'm really likely not pushing hard enough. I'm not pushing to the other goals enough. And if it happens more than 5% of the time, I'm probably pushing too hard. That's where I'm holding my calibration.
I think it's a lot harder for you
and
than
20.
it is for me because
Is it?
I before the interview I'm talking with him, and then I have a whole hour where I'm building up to maybe some more difficult, cognitively challenging questions, and you guys are going in quickly within like a 5 minutes, and that's impressive.
And 5 minutes is a myth, I think. I rarely get less than 15, and I'm easily to go 45. And Reid is encouraging me to think of having a 30-minute timer as a max for these kind of events, and I have no problem doing that. Also,
Why the limit?
He didn't specifically say.
Just so we can get more people if they're available.
Yeah, it was that's a good reason. I can think of several reasons. For one, I don't want to, unless somebody's really enthusiastic and really opts in and wants this hugely long conversation, I don't want to pull somebody off their walk for the entirety of the time they had available to walk. That kind of thing. So it's partially for their time. Also, I think the amount of progress that I'm trying to make in a session is a lot less than what maybe you're doing for an hour. You're probably looking to make a focused thing where you take them not just to the brink of a thing, but maybe through a transition of thinking about one thing differently, maybe.
That's a great way to put that.
Yeah, so for me, I'm all thumbs up if we get to an aporia, if we can get to, oh, they just recognized something that made them really have to think at least once. I'm done. It's sufficient.
Yeah, I think with a Being Reasonable show, I try to take them kind of on a journey. And hopefully we can get to that place we're going together. Sometimes it's a tall order.
Yep. Oh, that's cool. You threw the still of today's topics in there.
Yeah, what do you think of those?
I can't see them clearly enough. Now that's not because I can't see well enough. It's because intentionally the return feed that I get is only enough so that I can see people's expressions. It's not enough for me to see text, and that's to save bandwidth. Like 144p or something.
Is climate change a threat?
Okay.
Are all cultures of equal moral worth? Is there such a thing as not racist?
Okay.
Does liberalism enable fascism?
Interesting.
Are any gender norms here to stay?
Okay.
Has any human walked on the moon?
Nice. Yeah. Definitely counterintuitive to not speak your own mind.
So I have a question for you guys, and feel free to,
Yes.
if it's too personal, let me know. That's fine. What
Okay.
do you? And I'm happy to describe my experiences too. What happens to be family members' reactions to this glorified hobby that you've embarked on, like I've embarked on?
Okay. Reid first. Your family members?
I've only really
You
showed my
choose.
mom non-religious examples, and I don't think she knows how to find me otherwise.
Really? What?
What was
So
it?
I don't really know too much about this.
Okay, so you've intentionally
Oh, your mom
kept
doesn't
them
know you
blind
do
from
this?
it.
She does. I've showed her non-religious examples because she's still religious.
Okay. Kimberly?
So I don't really
Would
know
you
what
be
they
willing
think.
to be on camera?
Wow.
Kimberly? No. Okay, so she has her answer. She's standing back there saying, no. She doesn't want to show up on my camera and answer the question. So I'm going to say some things, and she can nod or not as she chooses.
What about wide shot audio only with this thing?
I don't know, but Kimberly's interested in this process. I think she's slightly more interested in seeing how all of the technical, mechanical parts go together than the actual SE. Although she keeps warming up to the idea of learning it, and she does really well. She asks all the right questions and all the right times. She's just not very interested in doing it publicly. My other two spouses are very supportive. My whole family is
Wait.
very supportive of the thing. They're seeing what's going on. They're often watching it live.
Did you see other two
Naya is
spouses?
helping by being the treasurer. Pardon?
You said other two.
Yeah, I have two wives and a husband.
Oh,
Kimberly,
okay.
right behind over my shoulder here, is one of my wives, and then there's Naya and Foyle,
Yeah.
and then I have. Well, anyway, that of course, there's other family further outside that, and I haven't really gotten any significant feedback outside my family of four on the topic. It's mostly been, oh, I'm glad you have a new hobby. I hope it's working out well. And
Yeah.
that's as much as I get, which is fine. But my intimates are very aware of it, very familiar, and very supportive, and they all have different opinions about it. but for the most part, very positive, and they're very happy with how it's changed the way I communicate.
Oh.
I am
How-
I am
how does that- how
60%
does-
less asshole.
That's significantly less asshole.
Yeah, it is significantly less asshole. So that's been a real benefit.
How has your
curmudgeonly,
communication style
stuff.
changed? You mean like your ability to restate, reflect, and like to report stuff, or other stuff?
Yes, restatement, reflection, an understanding of the value and the actual practice of steel manning the other's position. If I can tell them their position the way they really think it, the way they really do it, and especially if I can somehow wrap some words around it that are even better than theirs, they get really loved. They really feel loved. So that's huge. Shooting my
Steel
messenger
manning
is
someone's
where
position, they sometimes get floored with that when they're not expecting.
Oh yeah,
it. It's kind of
it's a huge thing. It feels like such a nice hug. So that's huge. Of course, they've gotten used to me being so neutral when they tell me a thing, because I'll shoot my messengers so hard that they will actually not know where I stand at the end, and they've become used to that. That at first that was weird. I would say, I'm going to try to be really neutral while we talk about this, and you're welcome to ask me direct questions, but unless you ask me a direct question about my opinion, I'm going to hold it to myself and just reflect on yours. And once they got used to that was a very welcome positive thing. So when we talk things out as a family, we end up using a lot more SE-like tactics and nonviolent communication, things like that. We're much better at that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Another reason to practice SE.
Yeah. Oh, are they waiting behind me here?
It's too late now.
Oh, I'm completely unaware that people are actually standing. I'm expecting them to come to here for some reason, but where the ultra wide is. But yeah, I am in the crossroads, and I guess the closest place is actually right behind me. So yeah, we'll try to engage them. Preferentially, have one of you engage them if I'm sitting right here. Yeah. One other thing that's happened is sometimes I will actually get tapped to make a communication or help my family with a communication that's difficult with other people. And sometimes it's, please tell me how to talk to this person, and then I'll say something and they'll model it, or they'll actually put me stand me there and have me do the communication. So my improved communications are better. Oh, and one other really important thing is one of my goals this year is to grow a much thicker skin. And that appears to be working really well.
And how did you go about that?
Early on during the first half of the year, I actively hung out on Christian apologetic servers, Discord servers, and engaged SE with anybody on any topic, which was almost always about Christian apologetics, and that really helped, because that was probably the area where I had the hardest time shooting my messengers, because I used to actually know this stuff, and when somebody said something completely daft, like, no, there's no slavery in the Old Testament, or something like that, I just couldn't let it go.
Right.
Exodus 20! Come on! But now I'm like, okay. And they're like, huh? And then they'll tell me, oh no, but it was different. It was a different kind of slavery. It's not the term. Okay. Addison, you have a claim to be interviewed on it. Not sure. That's fine. Let us know. Let us know when that happens. Shrieks, waves high.
Yeah, with my family, I think it ranges the whole gamut because I have people who on far ends of the spectrum that are included in our family, and I have people who really want to talk to me about it and are interested in SE and what it is, and then I all the way to the people who just don't even want to recognize that this is a thing and I'm doing this thing. So it's just I think it's interesting.
So that seems like a lot more of a thing. If they actually like avoid wanting to recognize it.
Yeah.
I mean, with Reid and his family, he's avoiding informing them. Yeah,
they're avoiding
just
me.
leaving them out of the loop.
Yeah.
And that actually, I think that's perfectly wise. There's no need at all. My first answer: what should you SE your family? If you want them SE'd, have somebody else do it. That's my first answer.
I think they're afraid to bring things up because I might use SE, and you know what I mean?
Because
people don't want the beliefs changed unless they're asking to have their beliefs changed, right?
Yeah. Critical thinking can be very erosive to bad thinking. Yep.
I think the outer walking trail might get more traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you have to pack up everything?
No, if we want to do this again at some point.
Yeah, just on another day.
It's not too bad.
We did at El Prado at one point move about 10 meters, and it took about 90 seconds. It was not a big deal. We didn't even cut the live stream. People with their little tiny dogs.
Have you guys ever hit university campuses like Anthony, or?
We did. The first time I worked with Reid was maybe the last week in January at UCLA, and we did that through March. And we recently checked, and UCLA is very much closed to anybody who doesn't have official reasons to be there right now. It's reasonable.
They don't hassle you when you're there, like administration?
Not when we were there, no. I expect if we were to go there now, it would be, we'd get the funny look. But yeah, prior to March, it was just fine. We were in an area where students, there's places for tables all along a section, so it's like if you're doing student activism or trying to do outreach, or you have a club or something like that, it was the designated place to go, and it was so it was very much in the spirit of that location for us to go to that spot. And I would hope that the parks were also very in the spirit of, getting and talking to people.
Yeah.
Obviously with pandemic stuff. So, I'm very happy to hear that there are a couple of vaccines with some, if I just believe their numbers right off the bat, with some promising numbers.
Yeah. So,
don't know.
What's your guess on how many people will actually take the vaccines?
Oh, I think it's going to be somewhere between 80 and 90%.
Oh, you think that many Americans will take?
Yeah, I think so. My understanding is, okay, first of all, I qualify that disproportionate thinking is highly tied to numeracy, and I mean numeracy like literacy for letters, numeracy for numbers. You don't have to be fantastic at math to understand how to proportionate things.
We're doing interviews all day if you have time for our podcast.
Oh yeah.
I think we may have an interlocutor.
We have water as well.